or may not be able to see, we're talking about Cards Against Humanity today, but I guess I should introduce myself. Welcome to Eternally Bored, the podcast where we are bored so you never have to be. I'm Charles Washington, and as you can see, we have a special guest here, Nichole Doest, who's like freaking out because I've gone totally off script again.
It's fine. Let's start with that introduction.
I'm cool.
Nichole, tell us about yourself and your experiences with board games.
Okay. I don't know, who am I? I play a lot. Let's see, I've played board games since before we met, so probably for like 8 to 10 years. No, even as a kid, I played some board games. I wasn't really like super interested or knowledgeable about a lot of different types, but I got introduced to them by my stepdad, my mom. We went to comic book shops a lot when I was a kid because I was really into comics and Magic the Gathering.
Parents were way cooler than mine.
Oh, I know, right? And then we met Casey, whose parents owned the comic book shop, so that was tight. That was an in. And then from Magic the Gathering, you move on to video games, and board games was sort of the next logical step for someone who enjoys getting with people and stuff like that. So we went 1 year to... No, I've been 2 years now to BGG cons. So I've been to 2 of those. But otherwise, just play with friends. I'm more into a lot more heavy gaming. So, but party games are fun. I'm a heavy drinker too, so party games are perfect for that. It works real well.
So Nicole's here to help us talk about Cards Against Humanity. That is the topic of today's episode. And then we're going to give our top 3 Cards Against Humanity cards, and then we're just going to talk about some random games we've been playing. And at the same time, we're playing a game right now because the goal of this podcast is to talk about Cards Against Humanity and maintain a PG rating.
We're going to have a button for me.
We're going to have
a button.
This is going to fail.
There's going to be a lot of beeping.
This is going to be a really hard game.
A lot of beeping.
If you're at all familiar with the cards in this game, then you would understand why. All right, so I'm your host, Trey Chambers. I am a avid game player, but I also design board games, and in fact, I have a Kickstarter going on right now. There's probably, when this gets released... Yeah, you know. I can self-promote on my own podcast. That's legal.
Wait, I thought you had 3 games coming out this year.
I do. Well, yeah, there's like 3 games coming out, but there's one on Kickstarter like right now, Art of the Consortium, which is my first published game. There's a second edition, and there's probably a few days left. So, yeah, by the time that it's released. There's like 30 days left right now, but we record these way in advance, so we have like a backlog. But by the time this gets published, there'll probably be a few days left, so check it out.
And for those of you who don't know, there's actually an upgrade pack if you purchase the first edition game.
Yes.
And apparently a lot of people did not read that, meaning...
What do you mean?
Half of our friends.
So we actually upgraded the bases. I don't know if you remember, like the system that we used was not very great. You had to put the mage in a base and then put a badge of your color in the base.
Yeah.
We're dumping that. Now it's just a ring of your color that sticks at the bottom of the mages. And
that's really cool.
Yeah. So there's an upgrade pack for those of you. It also fixes some printing errors in the game.
And do you get that through the Kickstarter?
Yeah. So you can. Okay. So if you already own Argent, still check out the Kickstarter for that reason.
Okay, cool.
All right. And Charles, have you introduced yourself?
I'm fine. I'm Charles Washington. I host a board game meetup every week, and we've used a lot of our time today. I was going to talk about your other 2. Yeah, but we'll go and move on. Go ahead, Trey. You can just take this one.
So yeah, I think we've covered all the bases. So let's go ahead and move on to the discussion. So the topic of today is basically Cards Against Humanity. Is it a good thing for the hobby, or does it maybe go too far? Obviously, it offends a lot of people, and what I think is interesting is it offends people on both sides. Kind of like something like South Park, right, where you have people who are more conservative, and maybe this just goes too far for their sense of humor. And then you have people on the other end of the spectrum who think that maybe the game is too racist or sexist or whatever. It pushes too many buttons.
Somebody told me once that I think this is really smart. This is David. It's a really smart critique of South Park was that it makes fun of both sides of any argument and never presents a solution. It just sort of, did you see I stopped myself? No beeps necessary.
Good job.
Oh my
Good job. We're doing well so far.
It kind of poo-poos on both sides and makes fun of everybody in an argument and never takes a side. So it's like some sort of oh, look how high-minded we are. We can make fun of everything and you're all wrong. And I don't, you know what I mean? It's not that's special or new or anything like that. It's kind of the same thing. It offends both sides in its own way. So.
Yeah, I kind of more look to stuff like South Park as more like satire than actual like here's some solutions on how we fix society. Because you're right, like it doesn't really present any, but it does kind of make fun of everything.
Yeah, generally satire will take some sort of a side. You know what I mean? But like Stephen Colbert or something,
But South Park is all over the map. Like they'll have one episode making fun of conservatives, and the next episode will make fun of liberals, and the next episode will make fun of centrists. So it's like
no one wins.
Yeah, and they're like.
And unfortunately, Cards Against Humanity tends to, how shall we say, cover everything with a even coat of brown at the same time.
Skirting the edge of the PG rating. We're skirting it.
Yeah.
We're skirting
We're
it.
towing the line.
We're fine.
I don't think is poop PG. Poop's
Yeah, you can say poop. We can say poop. Poop's allowed.
Did you know that this is the ASL signal for poop? And then hold on, this is the one for diarrhea. Isn't that great? Isn't that so accurate? You know what people are talking about.
Well, like a bridge over troubled waters, we will move on to the next
really
question.
I'll leave that in the YouTube. I'm going to probably cut that from the podcast since people can't see the A's.
Signs.
Yep. So I know a lot of you play. I'm not as much of a bar player as most people. I don't go to many bars to to play board games, but you guys go to bars.
Neil's Bar and stuff like that. Yeah.
Usually when I go to other bars, even like really non-gaming bars, I see a copy of Cards Against Humanity just sort of around. Do you feel like when people sometimes start a game, do you feel like that game is inappropriate to start in?
When I see people start games of Cards Against Humanity, it's always that one person who sort of has no boundaries or whatever and picks up the game and then starts sort of timidly walking around the bar like, I gotta find other people that I know that I can offend or are drunk enough to play this game with me. And you'll be able to suss out who's gonna play with you because their eyes light up when they see the box, and you're like, that guy is real stoked about this. And I think it's like a level of drunk that some people have to be to want to play it, because you have to really be like super honest and super ridiculous. And I think I've talked about this too, like where there's different groups of people that can play this. If I played this game with my friends, it would be an entirely different game than if a bunch of 19-year-old frat dudes played it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of punching down that you can do, whereas there's a lot of ways that you can play the cards where it's sort of like, these are terrible things, and those are terrible. Look how terrible. Instead of like, that's a hilarious thing, right? Like, so it kind of depends on who you're playing with, and I think that a lot of when those games are started, it's usually an already set up group of friends who comes to the bar together. And it's like, we're going to play Cards Against Humanity together. It's not really like a pickup game that you sort of play with people, because you never know who you're playing with and what's going to go down and what cards are going to get played and when it's going to get awkward when the guy over there is like laughing at rape jokes or something. You're like, don't do that. Yeah. Don't be that guy. And then everyone's got to get up and leave. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah. It's a tough game to pull out in public for that reason.
Yeah.
It's a tough game to play in public. I mean, I think at a bar you're safe because, like, if you go into a bar and you're offended by something like Cards Against Humanity, why are you at a bar? Like, this is where adults go to hang out.
But adults can be sensitive to things. I mean, you know what I mean, like social issues and stuff.
I mean, I'm not saying like specific jokes can't offend that. I'm saying like just the game itself, like.
Oh, like if you're offended by looking at the game.
Like vulgarity. Like if you're offended by vulgarity, why are you in a bar?
Yeah, but, I mean, I play in public places. Obviously, this game cannot be played. And I play at sort of a family establishment most of the time. And,
it wouldn't be at a restaurant.
I've had people mention it. I've said, you're more than welcome to bring apples to apples. But, there's a few games that get...
PG, Cards Against Humanity, guys. Apples to apples.
Right.
Super great. Played that well before this game ever came out.
Right. So, Cards Against Humanity, I tell people play apples to apples. There's another... I tell people to play Dominion instead of Canto Cuore, which is sort of adult card game that will in the same vein. And I just think that you don't know? Okay.
I've never played it. I know.
And that is a hentai.
Oh, nope. And I'm out. I'm out again. Okay. All right, cool. I was in for a split second. I'm right back out. Thanks. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it happens.
So
and they're all dressed as maids.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Real out now. Are there tentacle monsters?
Actually,
that's another game.
There's a new game.
Oh my god!
There's a new game out now that was recently on Kickstarter where you could.
Of course, it was Kickstarter.
Of course, it was an R-rated version. We'll just get back to where I was at.
Okay, right.
On Kickstarter now, there was an R-rated version where you could go ahead and Kickstarter to get the X-rated versions of the cards.
Did they got to it, didn't they? Was that
Oh,
a
yeah.
stretch
Oh, they
goal?
crushed it.
They crushed
Yeah.
that stretch goal. You know they make Playboys, guys. Just help
Anyways,
yourselves.
let's get back to
Yeah.
Cards Against Humanity.
We dipped in the PG-13,
yeah.
but we'll bring
Yeah,
it
that's
back.
barely 13. Yeah, it's
I'll
fine.
learn how to video edit.
Right.
We're gonna need it. We're gonna need it for this one.
So when you do end up playing this game, what do you say to people who? Because usually you play it with a wide gamut of ages and people who may or may not be
A wide gamut of ages?
yes familiar with board games. What would you
Oh.
say to those who say that the game would be, I don't know, racist, sexist, business, misogynist?
It's all of those things at
Yeah.
times. It's all of those things depending on who's playing it. Woo! I did it again. I'm getting good. Sometimes if you just hand me a toddler, I don't cuss because I can't. I don't. So if you could have, like,
Pretend
if you
there's
have
a toddler
doll,
here.
Yeah, if you have a doll that I can just hold like this. Yeah, it depends on who's playing it. So if you know who you're playing it with, you know what you know, like they won't overstep those bounds. And like I'll get a hand of cards sometimes and I will chuck a card and just be like, nope guys, I think I'm a hard pass, and just pull a new card. And no one's gonna be mad at me for that because I'm not like over here choosing my hand. If I throw out that card and they see what it says on it, like I did what's the fundraiser where you game overnight? It's a marathon of gaming.
Oh, Nerd Night?
No, not Nerd Night. You know what I'm talking
The
about.
one
It's
in
in November.
the November one, the one in Dallas. The one
Well,
with-
we did it here, and we did
Okay,
it for the
we did
Texas
it.
Children's Hospital, and there was a card that was kids with
yeah.
cancer.
Angel
and I was
dice?
like, all right, we're not gonna play that card tonight because we were doing it for kids with cancer. And maybe that was like not the game we should have busted out at the Microsoft store at 2:00 in the morning, but we were all a little delirious, so it was fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, just chuck a card out and pick up a new card and don't do it. Like, it's pointless, you know? I think like he was telling me we were about to do this episode, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go through my cards deck because I haven't messed with it in a really long time, and I'm gonna pull all the cards that I think are not good, that are punching down, that are probably not really like constructive in any way or good for play, no matter who you are. And I mean, I came up with like a stack. I don't know, where can this game?
Did you go through the whole thing, or you?
No, I got halfway through and got real sad. And I had like weeks to do this, and I just got real sad and set it aside. So
Did you have some cards that you just couldn't pull out just because they were so funny, but they were still offensive, or?
no, because it was real easy to be like, that's not even funny. There was and to be honest, Cards Against Humanity has gone through and done edits, and they themselves. This is a really old set, so like I've probably had this for like 5 years. So this has probably got a lot of really terrible cards in it that they have taken out. That they've said like, hey, we're really sorry, and they're really understanding, and they're pretty liberal. They totally are cool with like being like, you know what, you're right. Like, we shouldn't have put that in there. That's pretty terrible. And they've removed things, so.
Can you, before we segue into the individual cards, can you talk about, like, punching down, like, how it's different from... some people might be aware of the terminology.
Yeah, so I think, so there's a big difference between, you can laugh at people, you can laugh at things. It's like, it's okay to be like, oh, you know, government is ridiculous, and these people, and you want to like, how do you say nicely talking mess? Is that a good way to say
Talking
it?
mess.
Criticize.
There we go.
Criticize with your friends into their ears quietly, like you would do. It's okay to do that when you're talking about people that aren't in marginalized communities. Like, it's not okay. Like, you can make fun of the way white people dance. White people have owned everything and slaughtered people for spices. Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, guilty feet have no
You
rhythm.
make fun of that,
you know what I'm
too.
saying? Like, that is why white people can't dance. They've stolen land. So, but making fun of transgendered communities, minority communities, like it's pointless because there are literally already people that are getting punched down constantly all the time. So that's the difference. You're punching down marginalization versus punching up against sort of like people that are already in power. People that are in power, they have the power already. You're not hurting their feelings by making fun of them. Like, screw Rush Limbaugh. You know what I mean? Like,
he's gone, long gone.
I'm still angry. I have a lot of hate in my heart.
If we're using the playground analogy, it's like making fun of the bullies of the popular crowd versus making fun of the kids that are already getting picked on and
right, like
getting
making
lunch
fun
money
of
stolen.
little Jimmy who's on crutches this week. You know what I mean? Like, that's little Jimmy. It sucks for him right now. Be nice.
So, good point. Also, though, how do you feel about the fact that most of the creators of this game are white males? Does that
There's a lot of women
affect
actually.
your...
Too.
Oh, there are? Okay.
There's actually a lot of women. I don't
That's
know
good.
if there are a lot of people of color that are, or people from marginalized communities, like transgender folks, LGBTQ. Like, I don't know specifically the demographics. I do know that there are quite a few women because I've gotten emails from them and seen women's names like as creators
Okay.
that work in their office. They're like based in Chicago, I think, and they're rapidly expanding. But I mean, women can be just as terrible as men. I mean, there's internalized misogyny. But believe me, I'm not like making that okay. But it means that there's probably going to be slightly more criticism. You know what I mean? I think that because they're willing to take criticism, I'm willing to give them a little bit more
Okay, so
leeway.
the fact that they've removed some of these cards,
Yeah.
like at least they're trying.
Right. And they've actually brought forth a lot of social issues through a lot of their stuff. And kind of brought up stuff like you were looking at the pink box earlier. That's
Right.
$5 more because gendered products. So women, it's like they brought forth the fact that women pay more generally for gendered products like razors. We literally pay more for the same razor because it's pink. Or the Bic for hers. Did you see those? They sent Ellen a bunch of Bic for hers and she was like, that's awesome because I was never able to write with pens before. My female hands can't. I don't know how.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, Bic made pins for women.
They were lavender and like pink and they were real gorgeous. And they just said like, for her, and like cursive letter was ridiculous. It's out of control. Like I haven't been able to use like a uniball.
I mean, do you
know what I mean?
do you still have to like before you even get to start writing
I
like
know,
scratch on a
ridiculous.
sheet of
Yeah,
paper for
ridiculous.
10 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't
Get
even
better
s-
at making your pins.
It's
Yes.
ridiculous, yeah. So they kind of brought that social issue to light by jokingly being like, hey, we offer the pink box, it's $5 more, haha, but like this is a serious issue. And then they donated proceeds to like, women's organizations. I
Yeah.
can't remember which one, but they did.
And I'll be honest, it's like I have not played Cards Against Humanity, or at least looked at everything they're offering for a couple of years now, and it was amazing how much that they have. That's just
Scrolling through it.
scrolling through all these expansions, and it seems like they're doing their best to, in general, offend everybody equally. So I got to give them a bit of credit for that.
Yeah.
So you have these cards, right? And the one that you pulled out that you thought went too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about specific ones or?
I mean, there's a ton in here, like, poor people. Come on, dude. Like, when is that funny? Occasionally, like I said, like, you can play with certain people who, like, they're like, what's this? Your black card is like, what's this despicable, terrible thing that people make fun of? And you can be like, poor people, that's horrible, don't do that. But there's very rare instances. When is that going to come up? You know what I mean? Using the term midgets, which is not preferred nomenclature for little people.
Did that one take? I think they took that one out, right?
That's got a dirty word on it. I definitely flicked it. We'll see.
It's
We'll
fine, it's
blur
fine.
it. We'll
Fine.
cops it.
No
you
one
know?
can see. Our resolution's not that high.
Child abuse? I don't know, dude. Actually, I think this one's hilarious. Men. I can find a lot of great uses for this
Wait,
card.
you took it out?
I set it aside because I wanted to laugh
just
at
bring
it.
it- okay.
I just kind of like laughing at
But
that.
I like this card though. That's
Being marginalized. Yeah, and then, so that kind of works sometimes. Ebola, that was so not funny. When that Ebola outbreak happened,
Yeah.
I was in like glass blowing groups and they were making the Ebola strain, the virus, into glass and they were like, har har. And I'm like, no. People are dead. People are dead. That's not funny.
I mean, it's sort of like wasn't bird flu one of them as well?
I think so, yeah. And that's like terrible. You know what I mean? Like very, very pertinent to like current events is like maybe we just chill out on that one. You know what I mean?
Well, this card is terrible.
The Trail of Tears. That's what that one was. That's bad. We
Yeah.
don't. Just don't. Take this card, rip it up, burn it. It's fine. We don't need it anymore. You know what I mean? This is great because I actually have a poster of this one hanging in my closet.
No, I gotta
Oh, whoops!
We did
You-
so well. We
you
were
just
doing
went for
so
a-
well.
It's the card. I'm doing what I was told.
Really, she meant to say Bill O'Reilly to update these cards a bit.
Yeah, that guy.
Sean Hannity, you're next.
You're on my list, buddy. You're on my list. I'm nobody, but you're on my list. Here's one that's real bad. Passable transvestites. So there's a big difference between transvestites, transgendered folks, and some people use the term transsexual, which is sort of outdated for transgender. A transvestite is a man who enjoys wearing women's underwear. We've all seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean,
Right.
And that was hot. That was great. Those aren't people, like, those men don't want to, they don't feel gender dysphoria. They're not trying to become women. They just, J. Edgar Hoover just dig more panties. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, they're great. I own a lot of panties. They're pretty tight. But you're not passable. There's no such thing as, like, being a passable. Like, what are you passing for? Like, you're just wearing underwear under your clothes. Like, I don't know if you guys are doing that right now. It could be real nice.
No, there's something about the line split that I disagree with. But anyways, continuing.
Anyway. But yeah, like, so what they meant here, and I could tell that they meant was, like, passable transgendered folks. Like, passing. It means like, you know, you're male to female and you look like a woman in public instead of a dude in a dress, which is problematic as well because they're women, you know? So that's kind of terrible. Maybe we don't, you know? Maybe we just get rid of that card.
Well,
That was one of the first cards they cut when
Yeah.
they started culling.
Yeah, they cut that one real fast.
You must have had like a first edition. Or,
I told you, it's older than the heels. So,
Well, I mean, I know we have a lot of cards that you wanted to take out, but I know there were a few that you wanted to have, like sort of like your top 3 CAH
you guys do your
cards.
top 3.
Oh, do you?
My top 3
Okay.
wreck yours.
You
Alright.
want me to start?
Yeah,
or you want to
you
start?
can go.
Where
So
did I put them?
I wrote mine down just because I found these are good for, how shall I say, any number of black cards that you might get. The first is going to be the entire internet. Usually the entire internet can sort of fit into any subject that you want to have. I really don't have to go much further. You can find anything you want there. My next one was daddy issues. I have a lot of friends who've had problems dating, both men and women, and both of them had daddy issues. So it sort of slides right in there. It doesn't sound offensive, but given the right combination of events, it's very good. And the final one is actually a term that I learned from and because of Cards Against Humanity, and it is smegma. Yes, smegma.
Smegma.
Yeah, we'll leave it for you to look up on the internet.
Or don't.
Exactly
Or
what it is.
don't.
Or
Can they
don't.
smell-o-vision? Smell-o-vision.
Yes.
Everyone, get in on these earrings.
All right, Trey, what are your top 3?
All right. I really love the card Bees.
Bees?
Because if you've seen the card, it's bees with a question mark, right? And I don't know, it's just hilarious because it's the only card, as far as I know, the only card in the game, the only white card that is a question. Because usually the white cards are responses to questions, and this one is just like, okay, you're responding to a question with bees.
Yeah.
And it just
What was it? World War III be fought with? Bees?
Yes.
bees. I don't know.
Bees.
It sounds like a good suggestion.
Yeah.
My number 2 was I got to read this one because it's long.
Oh God, I love it.
Getting married, having a few kids, buying some stuff, retiring to Florida, and dying. It's
Everyone's life goal.
there's
truly.
there's just a lot there. I mean, it's very meta. It's very deep. It kind of makes me depressed about life in general. It kind of works on a lot of levels. And then there's you must construct additional pylons. My favorite card because as someone who's played over 3,000 games of the original StarCraft, I have a deep personal connection with that card. And if the judge is someone you know that has played StarCraft, you can play it, and it's usually an auto win, so you can actually game the game with it. So, just
That's how you win this game.
Yeah.
You know who you're playing with.
know that your judge, play to their sense of humor, and
Always.
then you'll win.
Where did my cards go? You had my top 3.
I don't.
My top 5. I think you left them up there. Go.
I'll
This is
go.
why I chose the middle seat. See?
So we'll,
He was
yeah,
in
they
the
are.
middle
we'll
seat, everybody
be
else is
having a
seat.
quick fetching mission now. Fetching mission
He's
is
doing it.
brought to
Look at
you
him.
from Harvest from Tasty Minstrel Games, created by Trey Chambers. You
Okay.
can experience it possibly on a Kickstarter coming to you soon after, probably in another couple
They didn't
months.
kickstart Harvest; they just printed it.
Oh, they just print it.
Tight.
Oh well, once you kickstart one Trey Chambers games, you can just buy the rest. All right, getting back to our favorite top 3
right.
cards, CAH cards.
Not that.
Come
part.
on.
Just that one. I mean, you can say it.
Nards?
I'm just gonna cut it.
Put it in sign language.
Trying to do a G-rated Cards Against Humanity podcast. Let's be real here, people. Can you do like an R-rated release and then a G-rated release? Because I think that would be. Come on, dude.
One YouTube for them all.
No, just one podcast. Release.
One
The
podcast.
uncut version. I think that people would definitely dig the uncut
But we didn't
version.
curse enough to do
They-
an uncut version.
What?
If
Yeah,
did
we-
not
yeah.
curse- no.
You're gonna have to bleep me more. We're only
I'm
like
just-
15 minutes deep.
I'm gonna make a couple of edits. We'll be fine.
All right. Hold on. What do you think? I mean, like, I got 5, right? Because I was supposed to do a top 3.
Just
But you know what? Trey already did bees, so
Yeah,
we're
take
done
that.
there.
all right.
Bees.
Start with the ones without curse words.
It's not even a curse word.
Okay. Go.
Okay. So I actually have I've bought a lot of the expansion packs from these people. Like if you've ever done, I think it's how many days of Christmas? You've celebrated that holiday. What's the song? 12 Days of Christmas. I didn't know how many there were. So they do like a 12 Days of Christmas thing, and they will send you like personalized cards and like hilarious cards for the holidays, like slicing a ham in icy silence. Which is like a really great card. But they sent me one that's just my name, which is really cool. But they sent me one that's my butt. And I was like, that is...
What?
Yeah.
Nichole Doest.
Legit, that's my name, that's my butt. Which, if you draw this card in my deck and you're playing with me, I'm going to give you the win because my butt's pretty great. So, I mean, like, who's mad about that, right?
Weightlifting goes a long way.
It does. Do your squats, ladies, you know what I'm saying? Or dudes. Dudes need juicy booties, too. Is that G-rated? I don't know anymore.
No, this
I gotta learn how to jump
is
cut.
brought to you by
it's-
Imperial Spells and Steam, a Kickstarter game, or not Kickstarter, from
Not
Level
yet.
99
Soon.
and Trey Chambers.
So good.
Thank you very much.
I like that Trey and we had like 2 out of 3 kind of
We
similar
need like the
cards.
still image, you know, like TVs used to do. They put like a still image up.
Wait, the
And
little
then
like,
it's like-
the
With the logo.
Like the
technical
station
difficulties,
logo,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, technical difficulties. Nicole's talking. We just gotta cut that. We gotta cut all that out.
It'll be a short episode.
Damn it! Darn it. We're done.
Keep making it.
Does
Just-
Ian?
Alright,
Can
alright.
Ian do cuts? So I have this one, and this is one of my favorites because it's such a dumb trope. I hate this trope and everything, but it's always there and it's really funny. I don't know if have you guys ever watched Community?
Yes.
Okay, Community is great. I don't know if you
I
need
want
to
to get
watch
it. Yeah, no.
You really need to start it from the beginning. But what's her name? There's the kind of older black woman who's in their class, and
Sherry Neal Reigns. Or no,
is the actress's name.
Yvette Nicole Brown. She's also on Talking Dead.
Yeah.
She's like a Talking Dead mega.
Yeah, so
Yvette Nicole Brown.
she's super hilarious and super great. And at one point in the show, like the professor is like trying to, or the dean is trying to be like, can you make it more, you know? And he goes, sassy is the word he's looking for, and he better not find it. And so it is
That's
great scene. So a sassy black woman is always a really hilarious card for me, and it's generally an auto win. I love it. I think it's fabulous. Because I just want to drop it and be like, and then that's it, you know? I don't know why you want to
don't play your sassy black woman cards around sassy black women.
Yeah, because then you will find that word. And you won't enjoy it. You will not enjoy it. I'm
All right.
nearly sassy enough, and I'm only like a 4th.
Yes.
It's not good enough.
Any closing thoughts about the game? First of all, one thing we haven't addressed is like the gameplay. Do you think it's actually a good game, or do people just make it fun? Like,
It's the people you play with.
yeah.
It's not anything magic. I mean, they literally just printed offensive things on cards.
Yeah.
Or, like, terrible things. And I mean, some of them are things that you would never have thought of. Like the getting married, having a few kids, buying some stuff, retiring to Florida, and dying. Like, I'm not going to... You know what I mean? Like, I would have never written that on a card and thought, we should... And they've made thousands of cards. I do kind of like that they opened up the model to, like, fan-based... You know, like, there's, like, a ton of different kinds, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of knockoffs now.
You know how you can buy those
Probably
shirts on
knockoffs.
Facebook that are like, I'm so cool because I'm a nurse assistant in a nursing home. And you're like, that's so oddly specific. They have a Cards Against Humanity for, like, everything specific out there. Like, any job. So a lot of people have been able to do that. You used to, I think the first time we ever played it, we printed it, didn't we? Or we played it on a TV because we looked it up online. And you used to be able to scroll through all the cards online.
Oh, really?
Because it was free. And it was free as a jaybird.
I mean, I think the best thing I can say about this game is that it's basically the gamer's equivalent. It's like the new Monopoly. So, you know,
The fallback.
The ultimate fallback that people will sometimes gladly and sometimes reluctantly play at all levels is
We're mostly at reluctant.
Cards Against Humanity, and it's exceeded its predecessor Apples to Apples just because it is just that witty and offensive that you'll always get a laugh out of it.
Yeah. Well, I did very much enjoy it, so I wouldn't say it's a bad game, but after playing it, like, I don't know, I've played it maybe 20 times. I'm kind of just over it. I don't know.
20?
God, at least.
20?
I
You
mean,
gotta be kidding.
You've probably been here
played-
every time I've played it.
I've played
I
this
don't
game
play it that
over 100 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, honey. Oh.
I know.
And he
We're
doesn't
not-
even
We're
like
gonna
this
buy you
game,
better
so...
games. We're gonna buy you better games. I really want to find that
yeah.
phrase book
What
and
hap-
just read that.
Joking Hazard is new, and it's kind of like a play on the concept where you use like comic panels to assemble like a comic scene, which I just think it's more creative than just putting offensive cards
I think you
together.
have to read more into it too, because
Yeah.
some of them have no words. I love Cyanide and Happiness, and I've been reading their comics for a really, 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 really long time. But I wasn't that impressed with it. I think it was just one, there's not nearly as many cards, and two, it's like, they're just...
Yeah.
It kind of fell flat sometimes. Like, you would make some... The cool part about cards is that like somebody's gonna have that zinger card that's like always perfect for the round. You're like, that's hilarious. Whereas like I've played rounds of Joking Hazard and been like, none of these are that great. You know, kind of. They're not fun. They're not as funny as if the guys from Explosive wrote themselves.
Yeah.
So
if you're looking for like just kind of like late night kind of ludicrous fun, they make like the adult version of Telestrations, which I think is really good and allows for more creativity. Or if you want to go even further back, there's Say Anything, which is not like an adult game, but when you play with adults, it becomes an adult game because that's a game where you literally can draw and write anything. So if you play with close friends, it's probably going to head in that direction. I highly recommend that. Like, I still enjoy playing that, but for me, I think Cards Against Humanity just kind of gotten old, you know.
Yeah.
But not that it's a bad game. It was a great game for the first, many plays, but
yeah, and if somebody just picks it up now, they're still going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, if you've never played it and you're not offended by vulgarity, then yeah, give it a shot for sure.
Play with your family. That's awkward. It's
yeah,
uncomfortable.
I have played with my sister. I regret it.
I played
so much
with my boyfriend and his excruciatingly suburban white Christian family and friends, and those people are raucous. I was not prepared for what they were gonna throw down, and I was like, I was like a little saddened. I was like, oh, my virgin ears, like around them. I didn't want to play my hard hands, so I just tried to play it soft, and they blew me out of the water. It was scary.
We play Codenames.
Oh, Codenames is fun, yeah.
Adult Codenames.
Codenames is real fun.
Anyways.
Yeah, any closing thoughts about the game or anything we haven't mentioned? That's pretty much it for the topic. Let's go to games that we've been playing. So, new games we've been playing. Charles, you want to start us off? What have you been playing new?
All right. Probably a game that we played together and that had some troubles was Yamatai, which is a new game from Bruno Cathalia and his Days of Wonder partnership. I think there's another.
We're gonna do this episode very soon, and I'm gonna blow.
Where is it?
That game up.
The game is actually a very good game. It's sort of I would say it's a exact medium weight Euro game. It usually takes about 30 minutes per player. It's fairly easy to teach and understand. The main problem with it is that it uses 5 different colors of boats, and all of those boat colors are not colorblind friendly and are all the same shape.
Except yellow.
Oh, pook pook.
Except yellow.
Yeah.
The yellow boats are fine. And then
thing.
it's like what is it? Red, green, brown, and
black, I think.
Yeah,
Really?
the blacks aren't too bad either. But I mean, if you have brown, you probably don't want to put black in there too, because in bad lighting, brown and black can kind of blend. So all around terrible color choices for this game.
Yeah, so the color choices are bad, but the overall gameplay is very good. It has a good turn order mechanic. It has a number of I do like the way that you place the ships down, and then you have limited options whether you want to collect or build. But we've tried a couple of the different strategies. The building strategy works well. The large monument strategy seems to work well. And the collecting advisor strategies for victory points also works well. So It seems like the 3 mainline strategies are very close to each other. And a lot of it's just going to be based on player interaction, which is the majority of what you want a good game to be.
Right. And mechanically, I didn't have a problem with the game. But, oh god, just like Century the Spice Road, which I also blew up in this podcast, do not put brown, green, and red into the same resources and have them be the same shape. Anyway, we're going to devote a whole episode to me complaining about this, so I don't need to rant.
How many colorblind gamers have you met?
A lot.
He
Really?
meets them all.
So, 7% of the male population, so...
Well, yeah, that's what I say. Mostly men play board games. And
So, yeah, a lot of our friends are colorblind, and so we have a lot of
Interesting.
issues. What about you, Nichole? Have you been able to play any games recently?
I haven't played a lot, but I want to play that. What was the candle game that you have to beat before the candles go out? Have you heard about that?
Oh, Mysterium?
No. Of course, I should have looked this up. But I had the name of it. Joel's been wanting to play it at his house.
Candles go out.
Yeah, it's called 12 candles or some number of candles or something. But you light these candles, and then the gameplay.
You actually light candles?
You light real. That's the coolest part about it. 10 candles. 10 candles.
I have never heard of this game.
It's a storytelling game, and it's a one-shot. and it's played in a couple
Okay.
hours. So this is kind of what it looks like. I know you guys can't see this, but I'm sure you can look it up online. There's some really great photos, but you light 10 candles. And the gameplay happens, dark, creepy room. I would probably play with people who are really well versed in playing like D&D, like good storytelling people, folks who are willing to like kind of role play things. Horror RPG, but I'm dying to play that. If anybody wants to play that,
Oh yeah, no, that sounds super fun.
right? And so you have to win before, kind of like Cthulhu has like, those sort of like you have to win before conditions. You have to win before the candles, and they're just tea lights, so like little tiny tea lights. So that looks like a lot of fun. I did play some Pandemic. We lost swiftly and painfully, so that was cool.
Like base or
Base
Pandemic
Pandemic.
Cthulhu?
Base.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We tried to play with David, and we tried to explain to him multiple times that we weren't going to live through him drawing his cards, and he would listen to us.
Oh yes, Alpha
lost that
Player
one.
in Pandemic.
Yeah.
Actually, Trey was talking about how he played Pandemic Cthulhu. I happened to be here, but was in another game. What
Yeah.
did you think of it?
Well, your friend David brought Pandemic Cthulhu over
Yeah.
to here, and
Did
we
you play it with him?
Yeah, we
God, is he
played it.
miserable?
We won on like the last move, so it was a pretty
It's tight.
yeah, it was tight. I don't really like base Pandemic. I'm a huge fan of Pandemic Legacy, but mainly for the legacy components, and I don't generally like co-ops. Period.
I
But
hate co-ops.
I love co-ops.
Pandemic Cthulhu is much better than base Pandemic. So, and Charles said the Iberia version is also better. So, in other words, there's literally no reason to buy base Pandemic anymore, unless you're going to get like the expansions and like soup it up. But you could save a lot of money and just get a better version of Pandemic, as there are apparently more. I actually really like Forbidden Island way more than Pandemic.
That's one of the few co-op games that I can play, is the Forbiddens. There's
Yeah.
Forbidden Desert, Forbidden Island, the
Yeah,
whole thing.
I'll play either of those. I like Forbidden Island a little bit more. I think I just like the art more and the simplicity of it. Forbidden Desert is a little more complex, but I'm like, if I'm gonna play just a pared down basic co-op, I'm not gonna reach for Pandemic. I'm gonna reach for Forbidden Island, and it's also way cheaper than Pandemic. It's like $12 for that 10.
Super cheap, yeah.
Just remember, Matt Laycock designed all these games, so you can't go wrong anywhere you're going
There you go.
with it. Stay away from Seafall though. So not by him.
Charles, what else you got?
Actually, I wanted to go to something you wanted. Since we're on the co-op like
Oh,
method
God.
right now, I want to hear about this Spirit Island. We're supposed to play at the game.
Oh, I thought you want to talk about Dresden Files.
No. I want. We'll talk about that next. So.
All right. Spirit Island, as I just said, I hate co-ops, don't like co-ops, but Spirit Island is my favorite co-op game. It's actually by a friend of mine, Eric Royce, but my love for it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm friends with him. It just has to do with it's a very deep and complex and rich game, and I like, if you look at my shelf, there's a lot of like 3-hour strategy games on there. I like deep, rich, complex games, and Spirit Island is that for co-ops, and I don't think any other co-op exists that's like that. Like Robinson Crusoe is probably the closest thing, and Spirit Island is even more complex and rich, in my opinion, than Robinson Crusoe. And Robinson Crusoe is okay. I enjoy playing it, but I think Spirit Island is even better, and it's such an interesting game. It's for 2 to 4 players. It's obviously it's co-op. There's different scenarios. There's different sides that you can fight against that have their different strengths and weaknesses. And what's really cool about the game is like there's a huge deck of player powers you can get over the course of the game. So you can really like choose, like draft a set of powers that you're really interested in and find cool combos and things like that. It's just a really cool game.
Now, is it like Robinson, where we're in, like you can replay the same scenario from Mastery?
Right.
Or?
It's not a legacy game. It's not even really a campaign game. It's more like you just, before you start the game, you choose a side to fight against, and they're like European nations, because this is a game where like you're the spirits of the island fighting back against the European explorers.
Hell yeah.
So like the natives are helping you and things like that. And you choose your spirit, and then you choose which European nation you want to fight against, and each European nation has very different like strengths and abilities. So, but it's totally replayable, and each nation has its own like strength levels, so you can like tailor it to the difficulty you want. But there's no like campaign element, there's no legacy element. You can just choose when you start the game.
That's pretty cool.
Unlike Dresden Files, I kickstarted and got Dresden Files, and I started to play it with Trey, and it has the distinction of being the game I've seen you quit faster
You quit?
than any other game. He
Yeah.
quit
You
on the
bailed.
One
first card play of the first game as first player. He played one card
How bad
and
was
quit.
this?
It was, well,
It,
so I don't like co-ops, A. B, it's like Legendary. Legendary is like my least favorite co-op. And C, I played this card, and I didn't understand, like, what it did. You know, first time playing, I didn't really grasp, like, how everything worked. And so I played the card, and it did something terrible for our team, and I was like, okay, I'm done, not interested. Luckily, someone else was here, so they subbed in, so it didn't, like, ruin the game. They actually finished the game, played to completion, and I think y'all won, right?
We did win, yes.
Yeah.
It
So,
wasn't that bad a play that you made. I can't remember exactly
I
what,
was
but it's not
But if
like...
you sink the team on the
Yeah.
first card,
I
you're
was
like,
frustrated
it's-
at myself, but also frustrated at the game.
Okay, just because Trey only played one card, I will say that while it is a card game with stuff on the road, it is not like Legendary at all. It is actually a attrition-based card game where every player only has a deck of 12 cards, and you only will probably draw 7 of them throughout the game. It's meant to be a very short, quick, get-in scenario-based co-op. So if even your first time play, usually it'll take about 45 minutes. After that, it'll go down to 30, 25 minutes. You know, it's based on the Dresden Files series of novels, which are excellent. And as far as the gameplay goes, it's very different in that it's very minimalist. You're sort of conserving resources, and you have all your resources at the beginning of the game. But, you know, free their own. Everything is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Do you have another game that you played, Nichole? Or you want us to move on to our...
move on. I'm trying to remember the name of a terrible game that I purchased at.
Oh, yeah. Please
Oh, yeah.
rant about terrible games. That's what
Yeah?
this time is for.
Okay.
And then, in the meantime, I can talk about Fauna. Fauna is, it's actually not designed by Friedman Freeze, who did the first game in that series. Oh, wait, which is Fauna. Sorry. Fauna is by Friedman Freeze, and then it spawned a series of games. He didn't design the other ones, though. There's Terra, which is about geography, and then there's America, which is about America. And they're basically trivia games for 2 to 6 players where you mark things on a map, and you're basically trying to guess most accurately, like, whatever the card says. So, like, in America, it'll say, like, apple pie, you know, where was it invented? When was it invented? Blah, 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 blah. And then, like, you guess on a map and on a timeline when you think it was invented and where you think it was invented. For Fauna, which is the one I've played most recently, it's animals. So, like, you have this huge deck of animals, and you get to choose. You mark on a map where you think the animal lives, like its habitat. How big do you think it is? How much you think it weighs? So it's a really neat game, and I love that whole system. So I like all of those games. They're taking up a lot of space on my shelf though, because I have all 3 of them. So I might have to pare it down to just one at some point. But right now I own all 3, and I enjoy all 3. They just don't hit the table enough to justify me keeping all 3 of them.
And I have America. America actually hits the table quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
Well, if you have America, I might keep another one.
It's very popular. You know, it makes Americans feel like they're smarter than they really are worldwide. So I can't really say anything else bad about that.
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No. I want.
Yeah. So I play Monopoly Gamer, which the fervor has like died down.
that looks so cute.
Yeah, like it was huge on Facebook and BGG, and Reddit, just people talking about this game, even though it's basically just Monopoly with Nintendo characters. But like it became like this huge thing in the board game community to like talk about it and like review it, and you know, there were quite a few flame threads, people saying like, oh, it's so much better than Monopoly, it's actually a fun game, and then other people saying like, no, it's just like Monopoly, it's terrible, why are you wasting your time? I kind of like fall down in the middle. I bought it because my daughter was in town, so I played it with my daughter, and I think it's a decent family game, just like Monopoly is a decent family game that a lot of
Did it
families
end in
play.
tears? Because it's not a Monopoly game if you don't end in tears. with one
There were
person
some
falling
frustrations, yeah. There's some wild swings of luck in that game, as Monopoly does. You
Well,
know,
and like
that's-
Mario Party, that kind of reminds me of.
Yeah,
somebody
it's
just pulls out the gun.
it kind of is a blend of Monopoly and Mario Party, because like not only are you buying properties and things, but you're also like shooting green shells at each other and stealing each other's coins and things like that. So it adds a layer of actually, that makes it sound more like Mario Kart than Mario Party.
Yes, Mario Kart.
Yeah, so it's like Mario Kart mixed with Monopoly.
Yeah, and Smash Bros.
The reason it's way better than Monopoly has nothing to do with the gameplay. The gameplay is very similar and similarly swingy and, not in-depth at all. What makes it better is the theming and the length. The length of this game, it will not last more than 30 minutes.
What?
It is super short. So for a Monopoly version, that's what... Because, I'm not a fan of Monopoly, as most hobby board gamers are not, and this is a version I could play with my family in 30 minutes, and everybody still gets the Monopoly feel. So, in that way, it's great. However, there is a thing in the rules that I highly suggest you ignore, where it says, in 2 different places, if the next person starts taking their turn and you haven't collected all your money, you don't get it. You can take that rule and just nix it, because, if people are around and we're playing a game like Monopoly, which isn't like a high-impact strategy game, you're just kind of being casual about it. You don't want a rule in the rule book saying, oh, if you forget to take your money, you don't get it. That would just make the game even more frustrating than it already is.
Crap all over 11-year-olds in the
Anyway,
game.
yeah.
Like, well, forgot your money. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just toss that rule out. But I think for a 30-minute Monopoly variant, it's very, very good. And the theming, you can't beat Nintendo characters. So
I will always recommend Winning Moves Mega Monopoly by Tournament Monopoly gamers for other Tournament Monopoly gamers. There's huge tournaments. Anyways.
Okay. Do you want me to rain hellfire in a game, or do you want to go?
I'm ready.
Oh.
Go for it.
Okay, so at BGG Spring last year, I picked up some games at the flea market. I was like, I don't know, here's $60. Let me just grab a handful of things, bring them home, play them, see what happens. If I don't like them, I can sell them again,
No.
Yeah, never do that, right? Never do that. But whatever, it wasn't that big of a deal. I actually got that sweet Texas Monopoly, which I am not opening. That is sealed. That is gorgeous. I'm really disappointed in my state all the time, but I'm still Texan. You know what I'm saying? That's a theme here at the state. I played Pints of Blood. It actually doesn't have... Yeah. You already know. It doesn't have that bad of a rating, actually, on Board Game Geek. I was kind of surprised by it, because that was like, it can't be that bad. But it's supposed to be like a Shaun of the Dead ripoff, right? Let's just go to the Winchester, have a pint, and wait for this all to blow over. And so you actually play inside the Winchester in the bar, right? And you're behind the bar, and you have packets of crisps, and that's like your
Oh,
your
I've
food.
heard about this game.
Okay,
yes.
and then the zombies are coming in through the windows, and you have to roll for depending on how many hits you get, and it takes certain amounts of hits to kill the zombies, and you're just trying not to get swarmed, basically, is the name of the game. But I think the funny part is it's technically a co-op game, but you have specific outs. If you do this, you can get out, and you can just screw over your teammates. You can just bail and be like, well, I'm safe, so that's the end of the game, guys. I won. Thanks. So you can win, and I think that's hilarious. That's my style of co-op. If I can backstab everyone and just come out on top, I'm excited about it.
So why didn't you enjoy the game?
It was horrid. You had 700 little tiny pieces. I had to build a 2-decker bus. Get out of here. This is America. So,
Do not say anything with "yeah" as a second word.
If we have any fans in the UK, I apologize.
yeah. No, you guys are great. You guys have socialized healthcare. You're great. You're doing great. But double-decker buses, come on, guys. We only use this for sightseeing here. So, but it was just so much. We tried to just open up the game. We literally didn't finish it. I think we got 5 or 6 turns in, and then realized that we were doing this one thing sort of the wrong way. The instructions were written just, oh my gosh, just somebody frantically wrote them down as they were trying to teach you the game, instead of concise and in a way where as you read them, you would take your turn. A lot of times when I'm trying to learn a game and everyone is new to the game, I will go through the rule book as we play our first turns. And kind of explain, oh, okay, so here's what's next. Here's your next move. But we would flip to something, and, we would read through that whole thing, and then flip to the next page and be like, oh, before we did all that, we were supposed to do this thing. Oh, that's great. So the rules were just unbelievably...
All over the place.
Just all over the place, and they were a hot mess. And I think that is a lot of what people's complaints were in the reviews. There's cards... There's movement in the zombies, there's dice rolling, there's packets of crisps, there's the bus that sometimes you're going to have to use, you have wind condition. There's too much going on for what it should be, which it seems like it shouldn't be that difficult or intense of a game, because it's a hilarious it seems like it would be a lighthearted, silly game, and it was like so intense, and the rules were so badly explained. It was not fun. God, it was not fun. And we haven't opened it up since. We got we broke everything out, popped everything all together, played 2 rounds, I think, and then we were done with it.
So Nichole does not recommend Pints of Blood.
I own this game. It's still in shrink wrap.
It will remain there.
Yeah.
Charles will sell it at BGG.
Because I read the rules on the PDF, and I was like, yeah.
Please buy Charles' copy if you're going to BGG. He would like to sell it to you.
You're going to love it.
Yeah.
But only because Charles needs money.
Yeah.
I got the game for free. Someone gave it to me at the end of a con
Because I
saying,
paid
play
$5
it.
That's just straight profit.
Yeah, that's a freebie.
Anyways,
I just have 2 more games, and then we need to wrap it up. Did you have any more before I go through my last 2?
I did play the worst rated game on BGG.
Oh, yeah,
What is it?
Please talk about that.
There's a game that's just a pure dice rolling game called LCR. It's left, center, right. It's a straight up gambling, drinking game. I don't know why I went to a church
2 thumbs way up.
and
What?
played this game. Yes, it was a church event. But basically, you start with some denomination of money. You either have 3 pennies, or 3 quarters, or $3, or 3 fives, or 3 tens, or 3 20s. Was when I hear it really gets fun.
I do not want to play that.
And then you roll the dice. The dice have 3 pips, which are where you get to keep the money in front of you. And then they have 3 others, where one is pass to the left, pass to the center, pass to the right. And if you roll, whoever ends up with the last set of money in front of them gets all the money in the center.
No. We're
Yes.
playing, play with pennies?
Yes.
That sounds like you could get real sad real fast.
This game is terrible, depending upon how much money. It literally gets better the more money you play, but you are literally throwing money away. We could play it right now, and basically it has no player elimination because someone could always pass $1 or penny all the way down. You just sort of sit at the game table, maybe with no money. You don't roll dice unless you have money, but you might suddenly get money because someone rolled some dice. I don't know what to say. This game is terrible, but also available at Amazon, Target, Walmart, and pretty much anywhere you can go.
So if you want to swindle your friends, you know where to
have
go.
the ability.
How long does it take? Because
as long as it takes. There's real money on the table, so it takes as long as it takes. I mean, it's
however long it takes people to roll
Yes.
C's, because every time you roll a C, you take money out of the system. That's the only way it gets out of the system. So theoretically, it could last forever if no one ever rolled C's.
Oh, I'm gonna
because
gag.
of the laws of randomness.
Oh, I'm gonna gag.
Right, because you never get money back out of the pot. But yes, the game plays. They tout it as playing what, $2 to 99 or something like that. So if you really want to just shoot yourself in the head, I would
recommend that over playing LCR. All right, I just have 2 more games. I'll run through them real fast. First is Hive Mind, which is just the opposite of Categories. So you could probably play it with the Categories cards and just switch them or something. I don't know. But it's basically, instead of not matching everyone, you want to match everyone. So you just write down whatever the most common thing is in a category. So if someone's like sci-fi movies, then you want everybody to write down, Star Wars, Star Trek, blah, blah, blah. And then, so you just want to write down the most common answers, which is unsurprisingly not as interesting as playing categories, where the object is to think of things that match this category that no one else will write down. So I would, if you're interested, I would just buy categories.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, did I win this game? I won this game. I tied for the win with it.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm sure.
this game
How does everybody not tie all the time?
Yeah.
That just sounds ridiculous.
There are a lot of ties.
Yeah.
It's just
Not even
anyway. I just think categories is the same concept but done in a more fun way.
This game was painful. Literally, people were looking around trying to find a way out. And wondering if they
The game ended because someone lost on purpose. It was one of those.
Really?
It did not go over well.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And then the last game is Quantum, which is a game I've been looking forward to playing for a long time, but ended up not really liking just because it was too much of an abstract. Like, it's a conflict game. It's 2 to 4 players. Takes place in space. You have spaceships. You're trying to fight each other to control zones, but it's done in such of like a mechanical way. Like, you don't actually have plastic spaceships or anything cool like that. You have dice, and like the pip of the die is what type of ship it is. So like if you have a 6, you have like a carrier. If you have a 1, you have a scout, and then you can re-roll the dice, and it magically transforms to a different kind of ship.
Yeah.
And like the type of ship it is determines what powers it has. It is just not a good. It's not a good game. I did not enjoy it at all, which is a shame because I was looking forward to it.
Did we have any good games that everyone liked on
Yeah,
here? Like
Spirit
what,
Island.
2.
Spirit Island, super awesome. Fauna, also very good. Yeah, so we had two.
I feel like this was a very negative.
Yamatai is good if you can actually see colors.
Yeah, if you can see the colors, Yamatai is solid, as all
Just
this-
get a bunch of ladies together to play it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Sexist.
Yeah.
Get it? No, it's
Really?
not.
A great way to end the Cards Against Humanity episode. All right.
Just remember, the dress was blue and black.
No, oh yeah, it was. I don't know how anybody saw gold. You people are.
I saw gold.
Get it
but
together.
No, the actual
gold and
colors
white.
are white and gold. I was on team
No.
blue and black, but there's actually white and gold.
No, it's a blue and black dress.
Oh, really?
It looks
Oh.
white and gold because white looks like blue.
Oh well,
because of
we're
anyway,
going to
whatever.
continue with this debate.
He's
after
calling
We thought that
the podcast.
debate was done, but it's
Please
not
don't
done.
forget to like, share, subscribe. We're on YouTube and Twitter at eternallybored.com.
Tweet our
and our
Twitters.
website is www.internallybored.com. And
Until
until
next time, we're eternally bored, so you don't have to be.
I like that.
Grow.